Yes. But I think we'll be able to get started. Hoping that there will be others who join us and along the way. So hello everyone. Welcome to this webinar on agricultural marketing. It will last 01H30. For those who wish, we will have an interpretation on Teams, so I will quickly explain how it will work. In Teams, in the top menu bar, you have the option to choose. Please mute the microphones, which happens please. Thank you. You have the possibility to choose, so you know that for muting your camera microphones. But what's new is that you have the option to choose from the menu bar, where there are the three dots, another language and voice, interpretation language, and there you can choose interpretation in French, or in English. If you don't choose by default, it will be the original language, i.e. you will have the language of those who speak. So it will be French and in English when it will be Sheila for Kenya who will speak. That's it. If you don't have a problem with it, you can leave it like that. If not, remember to select the channel you need. Do you also have a possibility? By clicking at the bottom left of your screen to translate the slides, so you select the three little dots, translate the slides, and you choose the translation language. There you go. So I hope that the logistics will go well, so we will have several speakers. Bertrand Venet, a retired farmer but an active member of the board of directors of FERT, who will speak at the start and end of this webinar. We will have Fall, a farmer from Madagascar, and Manch, a technician from the IFATA group, who will be able to present their experience around the marketing of chickens. Then an experience in Côte d'Ivoire with a farmer, Matthew, and then Koulibaly, the technician. And we will end with a speech by Sheila in Kenya. So as we have a lot of speakers, we will be quite strict about the timing. There you go. I see that there are hands raised on the Ficotomify side. If you have trouble logging in or choosing language, please do so by asking your question on the chat and someone will get back to you. Thank you. So Bertrand, I'll leave it to you. For the topo, a little introduction. Thank you. Yes, well, hello everyone. Well, I'll quickly introduce myself. Bertrand Venet. I was obviously a retired farmer now, but above all I was also president of a cooperative, and I helped to create cooperatives both in the north and in the south. Well, I'm not a theoretician. I'm more of a practitioner, and I'll give you a quick account of the experiences I've had in France and in the countries of the south, including Madagascar, Cambodia, Ivory Coast, Burkina, and Lebanon, among others. So when we talk about marketing for farmers, we have to be careful. The main objective is obviously to increase farmers' income. So here it's not by the quantity of production, but it's on the quantity plus a price. Beforehand it is still necessary for the peasants to ensure the food security of their families. This is the prerequisite for any marketing operation by our POs. So marketing is a job. So a job can be learned. It can be learned in a theoretical way, but it can also be learned in the field. And it's not given to everyone after being a good trader. I believe in the virtues of experiences. I experienced it in Madagascar with a cocoa cooperative union, where peasants had been trained to negotiate sales contracts. They sold first to the collectors, and then we went to see the same, not the big collectors. The exporter. Well, they weren't used to talking to people who are in markets, in large markets, among others. And well, after 2-3 experiments they were able to discuss the fat bit, as they say, The price is with the big exporters, but it's an experience. So afterwards, to market, I had some training too before marketing products in France and helping in the South. And I have a rule that I have retained which is called the 3C rule. The 3Cs. What is it to know? So it is to know the market and to know the market players. Those who buy your products from you. So once we have done this study, it is called business school language. Market study, research, but quite simply, you have to travel and see what is happening in the markets where your products are marketed and make contacts, have a network. After that, you need the second it's convince. It's about bringing arguments to better sell your product and have an argument. Who works? And at the end the last C is to conclude. Concluding is never easy because then you have to get to the end. That is to say that we clap in the hand and the deal it is done. Well, these are the first steps. But what we must never forget is that we must deliver the products. You have to package and deliver them, and often it's also another job. It's called logistics. And that's the same thing. Well, it's the experience. Knowledge of the market that can bring, how to put it, solutions for packaging products. Then, there is also something important when trying to know the market, which is to know the value chain, that is to say that there are players of your product X farm. For the product made market or returned, even for I saw for the cocoa in Madagascar made at the foot of the boat. So you have to look at each actor who works takes it. So it's very fine as a study. It's not always easy because it's rarely transparent. But you have to try to find where there are values that are accessible to farmers. So once you've studied all this a little bit, you also have to look at which service you can bring to the customer. It's not the whole thing on the market. You have many of you selling, and what will differentiate you? What can differentiate you are services. So the services, well, it's the logistics. We have just talked about it. It's the quality, of course. Certified or not. It's more and more the traceability that goes all the way to the farm. Yes, it is possible. And consistency from the market. So that's not easy to set up either. It takes time. You can't hope to do everything in a snap of the fingers. We have to give time. How do you say to things? So controlling sales volumes is not the whole thing. You have to know what do farmers have to sell? And depending on what you have to sell. In group sale. Because here we are talking about group selling. Well, you define customers because sales volumes correspond to customers, right? The more or less big customers depending on what you have to sell. So there is also something to be respected, and that is overproduction. If you produce too much, the price will automatically drop. Where you can even risk having unsold items. So you also have to have this knowledge of the volumes to be produced, of the delivery periods. The possibility of deseasoning often in the off-season. The prices are better, but technically it's complicated. But there are often advantages. And finally, the most important thing, of course, is to group together to be more efficient. More efficient both in terms of volumes and in terms of the services you can provide to the customer. Here are some rules that I have told you that are due to experience. So there is something very important where everyone has taken a difficult experience on this, and that is the management of money. When you start before, you create value, you create financial movements. So often, unfortunately, there are flows of money, and the flows of money, they don't go into the right pocket. There are people who are not clear, who divert the flow of money and put it in their pockets. So there must be regular, very strict control of the flow of money. And I will also add material because you can steal money, but you can also steal production. Especially when you store them. There have been difficult awakenings in some places in Madagascar or elsewhere or in France too. In France too, where Ben was embezzled money and material that was embezzled. Well, so there needs to be a regular check. Such important cash checks when there is cash. That's it. And then once we have created value, that we have secured the flow of money, well, how do we divide up the margin? What goes to the producer? What comes back to the investment? What comes back to pay the technicians? Have to have rules, you have to have strict rules, right, to pay those who work for you as well. So we also have to work with convinced and honest farmers, right? No saboteur, because we start important things. And of course, you must. How do you say being among people who share the same goal, the same morality, and avoid embezzlement? So for the bundles I mentioned, there isn't necessarily the obligation to create structures. We can do very well informal group sales. We can do GIEs. We can do a lot of things. We can also stay really only on the formal level without any structure. All depends on the framework of the country, on what is more profitable for farmers. So above all, have to do something else. Well, don't dream of being great, right now. It's you have to be small. That's what I wanted to tell you beforehand. But what interests us now is of course, as I said, your experiences. That's where there are ideas to pick from, where, well, you have to say both to talk about successes but also to talk about failures. Because you also learn from failures, so it's hard to talk about them. But I have lived through it in my life as farmers and shopkeepers in quotation marks. So you have to know how to question yourself. There you go, Joseph, have I been on time? You tell me. Thank you very much, Bertrand. Yes. It's very good. We will then be able to continue with the first country presentation. So we are going to pass the floor to Madagascar with an intervention by a FAL farmer who is Paysan Relay Commercialization. They will explain in the region around the capital. So the testimony will be in Malagasy, but it will be relatively short with a translation by the technician Manch, who will translate into French. So Match, you can translate as simultaneously as possible, please. Thank you. Even if we have lost them, I propose to go to Côte d'Ivoire right away and hoping that they will join us after Koulibaly. Are you there? Koulibaly, I see you connected. Can you activate your microphone? Yes, it works, yes. Okay, very well, so we'll let you first present the Côte d'Ivoire experience because we have a connection problem with Madagascar, so with 2 interventions, a farmer in charge of marketing, and then the testimony of the technician. I'm listening to you, thank you. You can turn off your microphone, we'll leave Côte d'Ivoire and we'll get back to you afterwards, thank you. To Koulibaly. Okay, hello everyone, I am Koulibaly Abdoulaye. Higmap marketing manager in charge of developing the sales network and putting people back in touch with producers. I am with Mr. Kouassi Matthew, who is also a marketing delegate. That's it, I'm going to give him the floor for this first part. Hello dear producer friends. I wanted to congratulate you like this for having decided to feed humanity. As my brother that the broom has just said, I am part of an operation of the place called YARPA. We were in his time. Flu, and in recent years, since 2015, we have become a SEOP. We are 30 members among the 30 members. It turns out that 9 women have been added to the men's category and we are working together on a plot of land that has recently been developed. Given climate change, we had some difficulties but nevertheless we were able to produce more than 30 tons. So really I would like to thank you again for my role within the IPO is marketing. I am in charge of looking for markets, directing producers towards new markets. Markets that are buoyant and the different sales mechanisms on the different markets. I'm also in charge of making the different groups. And transporting these different types of production washed with chopped bombs. Let's say like that. But if congratulations to the party. Because these are the ones who have allowed us to train on the best organized and better produce to sell. So there you have it, I always reiterate this thanks. Since 2023, we are marketing, so really I want to say thank you to the human with his partner. And besides that, we have developed, thanks to God, through a state subsidy, a structure called PAD-FAC, and we have benefited from a tricycle and we have. Yes, Matthew. Have you been lost? Matthew Koulibaly, can you hear us? Hello? Yes. If you were explaining the tricycle, we're listening to you. No. Because we have benefited from a state subsidy through the future called PARFA. And we have benefited from several things. That is to say that an attic, storage store and a rolling machine that is well tricycle through the tricycle. We have developed a transport service, which means that this service allows us to evacuate. Even within the OPR. Its own proposal and also shortcomings. The population also asks for our help. So through this service we manage to put something in our till. That is to say that this tenant, Norway averages 1,000,000 francs at the end of the month, and therefore the organization. Within this service, there is a monitoring committee monitored by the entire OPM himself is responsible for monitoring the use of this machine. And through mechanical repairs, speed, and also a management committee which is composed of 4 members. That is to say a treasurer and his deputy. And a controller who is myself as well as the driver. We also hold every fortnight. See how it works, and besides that, we also have competitors. It must be said that when we go out, we have 3 tricycles at the village level. But today we have gone from 3 to 6 tricycles, which has slowed down our activities a little slightly. We really intend to do more than that in the year 2026 with the transport service. So we would like to point out that we want to further improve our management resources. The challenge still remains to be met. So I really want to say thank you and for the work you do on your side, thank you and good job. Thank you, Matthew, as the producer pointed out above. In Côte d'Ivoire, in terms of marketing, we have developed several services, in particular the information service. We disseminate the producers, the market price and the market trend, equally. We provide calendars for guidance calendars in order to better set up speculation. We also have the training component where we teach producers the different marketing techniques, and also accompanies them in market prospecting, in market research, as well as in the development of the commercial network at the level of the PO itself. That's because it must be said that we are in charge of the development of the commercial market. We work with the producers. Do they manage to develop themselves? At the level of basic opera, that service. And there you see here in pictures here the prospecting that we have done in the big city of Côte d'Ivoire to allow producers to confront each other. This is the reality on the ground. Because many must have had contact, but it was either by producers or by neighbors. But I had never been in the field to confront the OO, the buyer. Yes, Joseph, you were talking further. Beyond market research. Here we have the distribution channels. Here. You see here on the right. We do the dissemination of information through WhatsApp, also through group SMS and through calls, phone calls. That's it, we disseminate to producers all the information in order to guide them better. Also the price. Also on the buyer's side, we make available the availability information and quantities, or also the dates on which buyers could have access to these products. So then I get up. Here, we have developed tools with the producers. And there you see here the price calendar tool. You see in red, these are the periods when prices are very low. In light blue we have the periods when prices are acceptable, and in green the periods when prices are very good. This calendar allows producers to choose the right or the right period to be able to set up speculation. And when they have these tools, it solves a lot of doors. Either in relation to the choice of the market, or in relation to the production period, or in relation to the sales period. And after this calendar, another calendar had come, that pretty much the girl of that calendar. This is the calendar of the propitious pilots. And there, you see the middle column, it's the periods at which the producer must set up. In any case, specific if he counts, if he intends to have the best price. This is the daughter of the first tool, which is the price calendar, and all this, it allows producers to have better guidance in relation to the type of crop that would like to set up and the type of sale. Then we have a third of the type blue, which is the tool for post-peeling loads. It was important to work with the tool so that this data would know. Then my in the country. At the destination. Whether it's a box of tomatoes or a bag of eggplant. When I leave home until I go to the market, who should know how much I spend? And we work together so that the other countries could determine a little bit of everything that is post-harvest costs. And this will allow them to choose the type of sale, either Bourse-Champ or off-screen. So that's it. It's all rotation tools that we have made available in order to be able to better value the products. So Joseph, can we go? We have them. We have the training. As I said, the more we have. We worked with producers on several themes, including post-harvest practices, through the letter and at the maîtrise de marches, the market districts. 2. We have also worked on the type of sale, banks grouped and regularly at least 3 times a quarter. We do training with the producers, whether at the level of the OP or at the level in the room. In any case, we are not learning to master the market, to be able to sell their products better. And so, beyond prices, we also need to support producers in diversifying speculation. So, because it is important to diversify so that at the same time, the project does not end up producing the same traffic, and this can create abundances. Push the difficulty well. So the opportunity to celebrate. I would say that today, unfortunately, producers are receiving seeds for free and without consulting the advisor. They put this speculation in place, and on the market these are unsellable products. And that's a real concern for us. Also the fact that some producers are unable to truly share production data. It makes sales planning a little more complicated. That's it, because we have had contracts with supplier buyers who want to give to the most fixed producers. What does that mean? Does it mean that from January to December? What is it? The price of a tomato can be 500 francs whatever the period. And we were able to negotiate this contract. But unfortunately the fact that he can't communicate exactly the production data is a challenge to the sales planning there. And what is at stake? As we play at the level of a producer, here is at the level of the producers, we are working with them so that they can set up a theory of context. So because with a terrorist, then it will allow us to appreciate the impact of the work we do, with the support work we do with the producer also at the level of the IPOs. It is very important that they manage to put in place clear work plans. That's it, because it's a plan that will allow us to better plan speculation and to quantify in a predictive way what they're doing. And in order to be able to also develop networks with partners. At the DC level, it must be said that certainly, there are some DCs who really make efforts. This is to be able to better support the producer in the POs. But unfortunately, there are some who are still the best. So we are working to raise their awareness so that these data can really support POs at the grassroots level. Producers at the grassroots. There you go, thank you. If there are any breakages, thank you Joseph for also creating Côte d'Ivoire. Thank you very much Matthew Ekulabali, so we have understood an important role of information. Training and tailor-made support for grassroots POs and at the regional level to try to properly plan the productions that are put in place. Thank you very much for your testimony. Are we going to take questions now, I think? To which Matthew and Koulibaly can try to respond. Just a little point of method. If you can speak a little more slowly, it will simplify the understanding and also the translation into English. There you go. So for questions, you raise your hand and you are given the floor, or if you are not comfortable, you can also write in the chat. Listen for questions. Bertrand. But I would like to ask last if there are other participants who have questions. I prefer to speak last. There you go. The hardest part is always the first question, so I'm going. Go ahead. No, it's both a question and a remark. I'm always wary of gifts that come from outside. So we gave you tricycles. When you have a gift, often we don't maintain it as well. We don't think about renewing it. Have you done any real calculations to be able to maintain and renew your tricycle? Equally. In the management committee, we have put a strategy in place. It is that small breakdowns under 10,000 francs are covered by the tenant. So there is also a control committee through troubleshooting receipts that is set up that I myself am responsible for doing the control each time. So once there is a failure, check the receipts, is actually the part that required to make you want the machine actually to change. So at this level there is no problem. I am the same one who is in charge of watching over it. So I'm also coming back. 2. We also plan to renew a new tricycle from the dog campaign because we have put money aside. That, a special crate for the tricycle, has nothing to do with the crate of the OP. Who is next to the general fund? Even from countries, that's it. Okay, well, great. And how do you finance the cash register? You are faintly expected, but faintly heard. How do you finance it? With what money? The tricycle box to renew the tricycle. The tenant gives us 100,000 francs per month. That's what we want to refinance the new tricycle. Okay, thank you precisely. Thank you for precision for all, the tricycle. And to entrust it to a service provider driver, right? Who is actually going? Go rent it, okay? Very well, Marion, a question. Yes, I have a question for Koulibaly. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to know if the accompaniment. And if you only support the collective production of the OPs that are members of the URBAC or also the individual productions. Always tomatoes, but members of OPs, which could then be collected by the OP. This is what and is it that in the support of these two types of production, have you noticed any greater challenges? If you also support the marketing of individual production of OP members. Yes, thank you Marion for the question, so you need the two. We support them in terms of collective and individual pollution. That's because you should know that, in terms of implementation dates, it sometimes happens that the producer does not harvest at the same time. Here are finally the collective sales when they have time to harvest practically the same period. On the other hand, for those, whoever also recognizes individually, accompanies them at this level. But the difference that we have been able to perceive at the level of the two types of production is rather the collective sales. That's because with collective sales they manage to amortize the costs more. But it also allows them to have better valuations of production. If he answered the question correctly. Yes, thank you, yes thank you. There you go. Yes, for the answer, is there yet another question? Thank you for turning off the microphones when you don't speak. Yes, Mancha question. Oh, that's about the slide 23. On the challenges? Yes. Some producers choose varieties that are not very marketable. Often under the influence of commercials or because they have received free seeds. They have received free seeds, which leads to produce difficult and sticky crops, harvests. These seeds, it comes all. And did these producers who received free seeds be part of the OPO? And how to proceed to? In addition to Fertilt, there must be state partners. Who often also accompany certain producers who are part of our other countries. And it must also be said that these partners sometimes have seeds for consumption. That's it, it's not commercial seeds. And the producer, when he receives these masks free of charge from the state, that's it, and he doesn't ask himself too many questions. It is said that these are seeds that I have received, so I am going to put them in place. However, in terms of marketing in Côte d'Ivoire, the markets have requirements. So, I'll take a simple example. Let's take the example of cucumber for example. Cucumber in Ivory Coast, if you want to sell cucumber, you have to choose Tokyo. Or the Midas. But beyond these two varieties which are very well sold on local and foreign markets, what suits you produces another variety of cucumber seeds. Who is not appreciated by the market, it will be indicated that you will not be able to sell. So that's what I wanted to explain a little bit here. There are varieties. There is speculation that is related to specify on the market. And others that are just for family consumption, but it's not for sale. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the answer. I propose that we thank them very much to the colleagues from Côte d'Ivoire, where we will let Madagascar speak because it works there. So match and fall, we give you the floor to present the Madagascar experience. The deputies in 2018. Now that Paysan relay marketing for gases. Let's talk about the interior. Sometimes Pamakataku is a move to make, but long before that, I was already a product producer and collector. I collected the products of the DICE members. I'm still waiting for you, apparently under you, darling. Participating in open houses, commercial events such as fairs. She has sinned. Await, huh? Are you waiting for the tongue? Capital. The activity by setting up a small tent at the level of the municipal market, and it was every Monday that I could sell my products. And I also receive orders. But now? It has evolved. It has developed and it has become a brick-and-mortar point of sale, and I open from Monday to Sunday. Of the union. I'm the one who is in charge of the point of sale. And there was a current of it. We at Tohu Foundation order if there is in open a Yetama. And what the F is going on with you? A lot, because I can sell the local pours and I can store too if in case I can't melt the products in the day. But finally crazy pants there. Me now? And I made a saving with your banks of your microfinance currently. And I also take all the risks as so much of me in risk management. For example, if farmers sell their chicken to me and that I have a problem going to sell. And I take the risks, but I pay money on time. And there is no problem between us. You brought the language 4 for 4 years. We have a clear system on the calculation of the price, on the margin and profit. Between me and the members. So we are aware of the cost of production, chicken, so there is no problem between us. On the definition of damage and on the purchase price. Well, we've got a good time, Annie. Reference between the price of the chicken I buy from members and the price of the chickens I buy outside the member. Therefore, if there is a price surplus between these two suppliers, Shamut and AETP, St. Denis, Kambana, Sarah, loyal to the members. But it's still up to the customers. How can I put it? But it is in progress that we client how diet Anna and shot, what to take the tongue and bicycle to my bed. And I do home deliveries because there are some customers who make orders and I deliver the products with a bike. And currently I also have a project. From development to the family by using a tricycle to make the task easier. You have to call it, that's how it is, grind. You have to be there. You too. I invest my own funds and there are some. I did the course to a loan from microfinance when it comes to chromaches. A fanny bus? Good night during and you are at the first technician. No, all the technicians don't care. Here is teaching you in English every technique. Apart from that, there are still some. If you don't have a mom, we benefit from the support of the technicians, which is very important, especially on financial management, on sales techniques, on communication, and on customer relations. Not the climb, My wife resounded. The activity as a peerk, I feel that it is profitable. If it's darling. We left the we like nor at Coley itinerary because I'm coming. In charge like this I educate 3 children in your private schools, I was able to buy a few lines, a cart for transport and I was also able to build my house. Thank you. The context, Madagascar. Let me introduce you to a little bit of the principle adopted by the FIFATA group. On-field experience. And we work on action, access to information, entrepreneurship and local services. A lot, huh? For us, the producer 100 in the center. So we always aim in the spirit of a win-win situation, in the respect of commitments. In the dynamism, in the structured organization, the dynamic. But lethality is also sought. And that's it. The most ideal? This support. We inform producers about a tool called the Sky, the Economic Information System for Vegetables. They are informed on the price. Information is also used as a tool called the Marketing World. This tool allows us to identify market opportunities, to identify markets. It's a very simple and very useful tool. Other than that, turning training courses too, we give classroom training for the PFC, for the countries, we market them through training modules designed by the U.Med. There are also practical trainings on treasury, on sales strategy. And currently, despite all these trainings as well, we have noticed that there are breakthroughs. Who have specific needs when they need to be accompanied, supported. And we have listened to these PRCs. For example, on the treasury, on the sales technique, on the commercial strategy, and we listened to them about that. So it became, a request. If they need to be trained to such a situation, then we finally do them that. Apart from that, on the support, we identify the initiatives because we have found only the initiatives that emerge at the grassroots are more effective. We also identify the leaders in this activity. We accompany, we provide tailor-made support, as I said earlier. Regarding the needs that have just broken through, and we also advance gradually. We are in France little by little. About France, but we are not forcing things, we are following the context and the logic of the farmers. Well, thank you. If you have any questions about it, we listen to you and we will answer. Thank you. Thank you very much. So PRC was indeed Paysan Relay Commercialization. I think that if you have understood the principle correctly, if there are ever any questions, do not hesitate. Koulibaly, we are listening to you for the first question. Thanks to the technicians for the presentation. My question is about it. Price variation. Does a land dub? Do prices vary depending on the period? How often is price information disseminated? Information on price distortions. How often is this information disseminated? Oh, thanks for the question. We inform the producers through the software. So there is a message sent for free to the producers, and what about these messages? Prices are included in the market he asks for, that he frequents. So they send the market they frequent. With the municipalities. In the sky? We see the message about the nets, the speculations that are also being asked, for example if a producer or an opal is asking for the price. How do your green beans? So the sky, well the price. And that's it, it's weekly, it's a trend in a week. Thank you for the answer. For information, to complement the system of collection of treatment prices and broadcasting. It is processed managed by a peasant organization called CIFL, who is a partner of FIFA, the national towel open that we support in Madagascar. And so, there really is a tailor-made distribution of prices according to speculation and the markets that producers want to have. Yes, Bertrand, a question. Yes, then, after all the services rendered by the OP on marketing, do farmers participate in the financing of technicians and farmers relay traders? And it is the opposite of the PRC in doing its activity. There is a small discount that cut at the OP. Every slot elsewhere. We also have to teach their products to the PRC and the PRC about the market it will earn by reselling the products. We'll first let the members pay a little more for the product and then pay a small part to the OP, is that right? So yes, clinicians, there is no support for technicians by this marketing activity. There is 2% of the sales margin paid to the OP, and there is a petty cash register too, designed for the maintenance of the point of sale. It's what you think is enough about the 2%, and is there enough in the cash register for the maintenance of the point of sale? Yes, it's about 2%, it's enough, but and on the maintenance of? Yes, that's enough. Okay. Okay, thank you. Another question in the chat: how messages about price changes are sent. Tools are used for the sky. You can see on the photo, there is a tarpaulin sign with the prices displayed, but can you explain a little how it works? What is the broadcasting distance? Yes, the messages are sent in the phone with 3 different prices. There is the price That appears the most at the bottom of the market is the mental price. There is the high price, so there are three types of prices. And once, the producers receive these prices, they use the page that we see there in the photo. So these figuraries in this page, the speculations, with the busy market, and with the three different prices, they discuss. They have a little meeting like that and they talk. By the way, they discuss these prices in order to make a decision, in which market are we going to melt our product? Thank you for one last question, Jose. Hello everyone. To add, since I am the one who is responsible for the dissemination of these training courses on the market within the CFL. So this message is sent by SMS to the producer center, but the technicians can also receive it by email. We have made efforts to ensure that at the level of an operation to a country are producers. The receives therefore during a meeting of a pay, the farmer can display in there. The other meeting per package, the price sent by heaven. And this, at the level of common. Since now we follow 36, 37 markets of which we solve from Madagascar and in the commune, in the communal market, this painting. And it is from these tables that producers can also follow the market information from these tables. So we have 3 channels for the distribution of these training courses by email, by SMS and from this table. Thank you. Thank you very much. And another question, are farmers interested in knowing the prices of inputs before agreeing on the sale price? That, I think, is rather addressed to CFL for or to the end, or to whoever would like to answer, but concerning the prices of power plants. Since in Madagascar we advise producers on agroecological practices. So why we have not been interested in the price of inputs such as the chemicals or like that, since we concern the countries, are to promote ecological practices. And that's one last question for Koulibaly's part. Then we will move on to the Kenya experience. Yes, Koulibaly Matthew, I don't know. Yes, and I have one last question. In terms of sales, that's it. It's true that buyers receive prices daily. But is it? It's the producers who go to buyers to deliver pollution, or is it that sometimes buyers come to the producers to buy the chicken? That's if so. Is there an analysis that is done at the level of charges? In order to be able to choose which type of sale is most appropriate. Thank you, Margin. Yes, thank you for the question. It's a bit of the two. The two cases are present, and it happens that the producers deliver their products to customers. And it also happens that customers come to pick up the product from the producers. Are these prices the same? Is that what is it? Is it the same prices? The same? If not, what is the analysis that is made before choosing the best type of sale? There is a difference in price because he calculates the margin on the transport, because if customers come to them, there is a little transportation calculation in there, but we haven't analyzed it in depth yet. And this is also the benefit of the existence of the PRC. Because the CRP makes it easier, yes. Often the Paysan relay commercialization he really makes the link between the producers and the larger markets of the intermediate species, but he is most of the time a member of the PO. So he knows the realities of the farmer and the members. And so there is as FAL explained, they have a discussion about prices, markets, and also sometimes the difficulties that there are before in the products. That's it. But it was a very good question. Thank you very much. I propose that we continue with the experience of Kenya. So it's going to be in English for those who hadn't heard at the beginning. You have the possibility to have the translation. When you are on the teams, you have in the top banner of teams a button called another with 3 small dots, and there you will be able to choose language. And choose the English channel, so other language and voice, and then you go into the interpretive language and you choose French. That's it. I'll let Sheila present the experience. CJ in Kenya.
Okay, thank you so much, Joseph. Yes, my name is Sheila Kosgei. I'm currently an agribusiness coordinator in Cereal Growers Association, working in partnership with FAT, supporting, we are supporting groups, farmer organizations in 3 regions in the country, but CGA works in 32 regions or counties in Kenya, in 11 value chains, using a relay farmer model that is called Farmer Service Center. We can go ahead. Yes, so before I joined Cereal Growers Association as a technical person, agribusiness coordinator, I was a chairperson of a farmer organization that is a youth group called Apex Youth Group. And it started in 2014 just by 3 of my friends. But later on in 2018, when we finished university, we decided to venture into agribusiness, specifically in vegetable value chain, and specifically for indigenous African leafy vegetables. So our parents were in a big cooperative called Kongeluk Cooperative Society. So through their mentorship, we decided to register a group and start our youth group. The membership grew to 17 youths, and we were able to lease land and start supplying vegetables locally in our nearby markets. So later on, we were able to get in contact with a company that deals with vegetables. It's called Maize Foods. And Maize Foods, they're a company that deals with vegetables and spices for export. So we conducted a company visit as leaders, and we signed a formal supply agreement. We had a fixed price, and the contract required us to provide vegetables twice a month. That is after every 2 weeks. So one of the things that helped us with this contract with Maize Food is that it gave us a fixed price throughout the year, because for vegetables in Kenya, the prices fluctuate. When the production is high amongst the farmers, the price goes very low. And when the production is low in the low season, the price is very high. So we can move to the next slide.
Okay, merci,
Yes, thank
Sheila,
you,
de
Anne.
parler un peu moins
Laura.
vite. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So how the model was from production, whereby we had, within the farmer organization, we had farmers who were supposed to be providing, or rather producing, the vegetables. So we had agreed that there are a few members within the group who have land to be able to produce on behalf of the farm organization. Then we decided to choose the cooperative as the aggregation center. So all the farmers producing the vegetables could bring the vegetables to the cooperative. Then we do the sorting and the grading, and then we transport the vegetables to the company. But now the challenge that we had is that from March to around June, that is our long rain season. So we have a lot of farmers producing the vegetables. But from August going to October to February, it's a dry season in our area, and we were not able to produce vegetables since the farmers relied on rain and not irrigation. So that led to a bit of inconsistent supply during the period of October to February. We can move to the next slide. So what I can say worked for us as a farmer organization, number one, this contract with the maize food company enabled our youth members and our farmers to get consistent income stream because we were now in active production of vegetables and we had an assured market. So we were able to receive income consistently. And then it enabled us to scale our production from we started with 0.5 acre to 3 acres cumulative of the group. So at least we had farmers who have embraced and have started vegetable production within the group, and the total acreage was at 3 acres. And then it was able, this contract enabled us to create additional part-time jobs for farms around us and also for transport logistics for youths. We were able to have more jobs for people helping us at the farms, and also because we use motorbikes for transportation, we were able to have part-time opportunities for youths in the transport and logistics system. And then we were able to strengthen the farm organization leadership of us as youths, and also to strengthen our agribusiness skills as a farmer organization. So one thing that was very hard for us and the major challenges that we faced in this contract marketing, the number one challenge for us was that the company, the vegetable company that was taking our vegetables, took a very long time payment period. Sometimes it could stay for 90 to even 120 days. That is 3 months to 4 months before they pay us. And that led to a lot of cash flow strain for us as a farmer organization and for our farmers, because our farmers rely on that money to buy sometimes to buy the vegetable seedlings, also to buy, we at times, for farmers who are doing integrated soil management and also integrated pest management, they need money to buy some inputs like for pesticides. So it was a bit of a difficulty for our farmers. And then during the period, I had mentioned earlier that from March, April, May, and June, there's a lot of vegetables produced by our farmers in the farmer organization. And that time, since the supply is too much, the demand of the company was going low. And sometimes the company could send us a memo, a message saying they are unable to take our vegetables. So that time that they are unable to take our vegetables, it put the farmer organization in a desperate situation whereby they have to look for another market for their vegetables, leading to them selling it at a throwaway price or a very low price, because they do not want the vegetables to be lost, to perish, because of the limited amount of time that vegetables take before they are perishable. So Also, with this company that we worked with, another challenge is that there was an abrupt contract termination without a clear and agreed exit clause. After supplying them for 1 year with vegetables, the farmer organization received a memo, a letter explaining to them that unfortunately, Maize Foods will not be taking vegetables anymore from you. This led to a very challenging time for us as a farmer organization because the contract ended, yet we had aggregated the vegetables. So we had to look for other places, hotels and schools and markets where our vegetables could be taken to. And it was a bit difficult for us as the leaders of the farmer organization. And then after the contract ended, the company also stayed for almost 6 months without paying us the money that they owed the farmer organization. So it was difficult for us as a farmer organization because most of us were youths at that time to take any legal actions against the company. And this is a very big challenge for farmer organizations that are entering into contract marketing without any legal representation during the contract signing. And then, as I had mentioned, the payment follow-up, which extended for up to 6 months post-termination, made the process a bit time-consuming and costly for the farmer organization because the farmer organization had to look for other ways to pay the farmers as they wait for the company to pay them their dues. So one of the key lessons, that we learned in this contract marketing arrangement, going forward, we decided as a farmer organization, and what we have learned also is that we need to include a specific termination clause, at least explaining that if a company that has been taking the vegetables or the crops or the produce should indicate clearly in the contract when it comes to an end, after how long, what is the notice period that the farmer organization should be given, so that the farmer can know we have a notice. Maybe we are given a 1 month notice before the contract ends, not to just end abruptly. Another thing with contract farming that farmer organizations also need to take into consideration is that there's need to agree on a minimum offtake commitment, or rather compensation during the period where the vegetables or the produce is very high. And then also the farmer organization can have quarterly business reviews to address the risks early and to have production calendars. That was something that was a bit of a difficulty for us as a farmer organization, since I had mentioned earlier that from October to February, the farmers were unable to produce, but you realize that all farmers were producing at the same time from March to August. So if a production calendar was present for the farmer organization, it could have been easier for us to produce, maybe to stagger our production so that we have vegetables throughout and not only during one period. So there's also an importance for the farm organization to have either a relay farmer or a marketing farmer advisor, so that they can have backup market channels, not only relying on the contracts they have, but maybe have other options in which they can also sell their produce. Because most of the time as a farmer organization, when the company was not taking, we were at a desperate point whereby we were looking for any market to ensure the vegetables just go. And that is what now we call a throwaway price, whereby you're not getting the right price for your goods. And then also, because of the cash flow problems that many farmer organizations face, like us, Apex Youth Group, there's a need for an effort to secure working capital facility that can be able to match the payment cycles, so that if you're in a contract as a farmer organization, maybe waiting for 90 days for payment, you can have a working capital facility whereby you can pay your farmers and wait for the company to pay you later. So farmer organizations should invest in member training on contracts and finance management, because we realized we had not had that. Yes. So despite our challenges, we want to say that contracts with farmer organizations is a win-win, because when it comes to the buyer, there's benefits to the buyer whereby farmer organizations are able to meet the reliable volumes. They are able to simplify the procurement process for the company, and there's improved quality and consistency. And also there's better forecasting whereby you're able to reduce your risk even as a company. But when it comes to the farmer organization also, there's a win-win also situation for the farmer, whereby the farmer organization can get assured markets and an indicative price. And they can also get technical support and peer learning within the farmer organization. And there's also economies of scale in terms of inputs, aggregation, and transport. So contract farming is a win-win for both. It's just that it has a bit of some challenges. So right now, we are trying to help efforts to engage in profitable and sustainable marketing schemes, even as Cereal Growers Association. We are trying to support our farmer organizations as they start small, as they formalize their governance, they try and standardize a bit of their operations so that they can have production calendars whereby they are able to scale their volumes but ensure they are a bit consistent. And then we are also trying to help the farmer organizations with accompaniment throughout the first stages, from the first stages of the partnership, so that we can support them to the end. And right now we are also in Kenya, there's a bit of legislative requirements that is from our Kenya Revenue Authority, which we are trying to work around and see how we can support also the farmer organizations to access that, so that they can access premium markets for their produce. But the main thing that we have done is just helping our farmer organization identify marketing farmer advisors, or rather what we call also relay farmers, who can help in marketing of the FO produce for the FOs that are yet to enter into contract marketing. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Sheila. We can leave time for a few questions if you have any. Does anyone have any questions about the presentation? Yes, Bertrand, Marian Bertrand. First go ahead. Yes, so me well with the translation where I'm not an expert in English. I'd like to know how many contracts he manages in the end. Have you heard the question if you want to answer?
Yes, I've had the question. From my translation, it has asked how many contracts I manage. Is that the question, Joseph?
Oui.
Okay. Yeah, so currently this experience I have shared was for me being in a farmer organization that is called Apex Youth Group. So by then we were managing only 2 contracts. But right now, as an agribusiness coordinator, we have, I think now we have around 3 farmer organizations that are in a contract management, a contract marketing arrangement. So I don't know if you're asking me as a farmer organization or as a Cereal Growers Association.
Thank you, Sheila. Yes, in fact Sheila was president of a youth PO before becoming a technician at CGA. And so there she was explaining her experience as president where she managed 2 contracts. That's it, but now as a technician she manages several contracts. Or for group accompaniment. Yes, Marian, please.
Thank you very much, Sheila, for this presentation. It was very interesting. You mentioned that the company had a huge delay in payment. So I wanted to know how was this resolved at the level, or how did you help farmers to resolve this issue? Because you mentioned that then they had difficulty to finance their production as a result of this delay in payment by the company. And then my second question was that you mentioned that the company all of a sudden during the period when there is a lot of vegetable was not willing to take the quantity plan. But I'm a bit surprised because I thought when the contract is signed, usually it's also to commit to deliver a certain quantity for a certain period. So does it mean that this was not specified in the contract, or if you could maybe shed light on that? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, on to the first question. The moment when the company used to take a long time before paying the farmer organization, before paying us so that we pay the farmers, fortunately, we had two things that we were doing as a farmer organization. Number one, we were supplying the vegetables, but we were also in the milk value chain. Through the cooperative that was our mentor cooperative, we were taking milk from the cooperative and supplying to schools. So sometimes when the schools would pay us, we would pay the vegetable farmers as we wait for the vegetable company to pay us the money that we owed them. So the milk value chain was helping us to pay the vegetable farmers who are awaiting their money from the company. And then your question number two on the quantity of vegetables that was agreed upon, we had a contract stating that after every 2 weeks they will be taking vegetables from us. The first agreed amount was they were taking 1 ton of vegetables after every 2 weeks. That is 10 bags of 100 kgs. But during the periods where the vegetables were so many, the company could breach the contract by sending us memos that we have received enough vegetables, we cannot take any more. So you realize from that point, it was breaching of the contract from the company side, because they have planned with us that they are taking this amount, but when the supply is too much, they fail the farmer organization again. So it was a breach of contract from their end.
And that's where I think it also answers the question Daisha who was on the chat. So we're not going to put her down. We really have a minute left for one last question. The match was very quick and then we will close with Bertrand.
I have, thank you so much for the presentation. I have 3 questions.
Hi, please, because we don't have match time. Only one question is actually the main one. The main one, you can do in French. How do you go about supporting a contract? Contract, because there you talked about a breach of termination of the contract. And the contract, is it a contract? No, I was just asking a question. Is there a front page? No, on contract management, we do the producers. By a technician. That's right?
Thank you for the question. I would ask, Joseph, are you able to interpret for me the question again, because the interpretation was not quite clear?
Okay. Yes, I can do it in English. He's asking if there is any support, any technical support in managing the contract. But I guess that with Apex Group, you were just farmers without any staff at this time, right?
Great.
If you can explain
Yes,
a bit.
that is before we met CGA.
So there was no technician because they were already fair. Just right. Fair. It was a group that was not yet supported by SICE. Thank you very much for that last question. We will let Bertrand speak to summarize a little what he has heard and brought his view as a farmer. Thank you. Well, thank you all for the feedback. Well, I made a few small notes there, but very quick ones by country according to the presentations that there have been. So what I have noticed in Côte d'Ivoire, perhaps not insisted enough, is that there were still 9 women who participated in marketing operations. And then we also find on MADA technicians that I met who are really up to date on marketing in Kenya. So we just had a female testimony too. I believe that the role of women in trade is often important and they also have a very strong capacity to be traders. We have also seen it in the markets, the buyers. Well, of women in marketing operations. After what I have retained in Côte d'Ivoire is that there has been a lot of work on the information on prices, which is essential, and on the post-harvest charges to have cost prices delivered to the customer. So that's interesting. I've heard in several places also about sales planning. And who says sales planning says production planning. So there's a lot of work to be done, which is already done in part. But it's not easy. We have seen it with the seed problems, with the problems of timing, but planning. This is an important subject. So on Mala, it's interesting because there we had an interesting economic reasoning, where I heard about saving, borrowing, projects, and the financing of all this, so we can develop in marketing. That if we manage to finance a working capital to buy to pay the peasants, well, of course, and a fund and if we also have the capacity to invest, so to be able to borrow. But to be able to borrow, we have to save first, and if you have savings, you can borrow much more at more attractive rates. What I also remembered about MADA is that there was a transparent margin. Vis-a-vis the peasants who sold their chicken to the peasants who marketed. So that's interesting. Transparency is a basis of trust. If you don't have transparency, you don't have trust. And there, group marketing operations can end badly. And I also remembered at Mada Ben that it was the farmers who thought it was a win-win, so you always have to keep in mind well to make win-win operations. Otherwise it doesn't last over time. On Côte d'Ivoire, it's we're in a fairly evolved field of agribusiness with contractualization. This is Kenya. Sorry. Excuse me. I was yes and indeed it's interesting because there is a price guarantee. From what I understand, because I'm not an expert in English, of the problems of payment of farmers with a late payment and everything, so there is always a problem of financing behind it. To finance commercial operations so that the farmers who have problems with cash flow can be paid on time, and it's if they are not paid on time problems. We have to think about that. Also, in a very serious way before starting. In terms of general conclusion, well, I would say that you should always start with simple things. That's what is done, I think, in Madagascar, and that there will be an evolution. We see, there are projects, of course, you have to keep in mind that it's profitable. To the peasants, And then you always have to find out if they are happy with the marketing operations, and if they give up group sales. Well, why? Always do a causality study. Why are some people quitting? Why do you hear yourself? There are operations that are This is to question himself. So then there are not necessarily formal markets like we can see in Kenya, there is the informal market. As in Madagascar, and there you have to adapt according to the context. The regional contexts. You have to be smart, In business, you have to be smart. Afterwards, what's interesting to see is I've seen it, it's to find new productions. Often, the peasants, they confine themselves to what they are, what they have always done. And I had experiences in Madagascar where people were always making tomatoes and then all of a sudden we pushed them a little to make salads, and I have farmers who have become in some cities kings of salads and who have made money with that. So innovation in production with a market in front of it, of course it's the same. In my opinion, it's something to think about. With the farmers? So in relation to the market also in general, we often talk about the invisible hand of the market. So that means that the market is driving everything, so I partly agree with that formula. Except that the farmer must have his say too, and he must work so as not to be a victim of the market. So in order not to be a victim of the market, you have to avoid from time to time even the mono customers. That's a problem. You have to have several clients, otherwise you are prisoners. That's a remark I experienced in France. After what I have also noticed, it is always necessary to have piggy banks, cash registers to finance the renewal of equipment, of the cash registers, to finance commercial risks, crates to avoid borrowing to pay. Once we have a little cash flow to pay the farmers in time and death. So that, in my opinion, things you've started to think about, that are evolving and that you will be confronted with, right? Always try to put money aside when you make money. Then at the level of marketing training, we talk about marketing training everywhere. But I think that there will also be a need for more advanced training on management, on the management of operations. Marketing on the management of commercial POs. There are farmers who are going to be on the board of directors, to manage commercial operations, to have the right reflexes. Good management reasoning, so there is a need in my opinion for management at this level. And to conclude, I would say, well, we often talk about the union power of peasants. It's not easy in some countries. But you will have more power if you have economic power. And economic power is of interest to everyone. And especially in countries where the population is growing. And if there is no producer in front of them to feed them, then is going to have political problems. So if you manage to have economic power, you will necessarily have political power. That's what I wanted to end as a conclusion, and I think that, well, in the three countries who put forward their experiences, well, yes, there's a future, that's it. Good luck to all. Thank you very much, Bertrand. Above all, this last remark is dear to the cereal farmer. If you want to take another 2 minutes to fill in the satisfaction questionnaire, so, you can scan the QR code. You will be taken to a very quick little questionnaire, and if you can fill it out, please. I would like to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to Juliet and NewChat for preparing this webinar. In part, on the communication and interpretation aspects. Since we used artificial intelligence interpretation and it required a lot of work. So thank you very much, and I also remind you, and you can scan the QR code, that we have done a very big job at FERT. In particular, thanks to Amandine of access to the main documents. Techniques for field technicians, so most of you must have it normally. On the access, if this is not the case, do not hesitate to scan the QR code. Marian, I saw your request on the link. Normally you just scan with your phone, then you should be able to access it, otherwise I'll send you the PowerPoint that you have it in the intra-FERT and you can. There is the link to the questionnaire. Otherwise, thank you to Juliet, Cat Nanny, for putting him in the cat. So there you have it. I had extra FERT. Don't hesitate to get information, technical sheets, webinars, we have everything that is accessible and useful to producers. That is a big thank you to all of you for your participation. If you want to put the camera, this will allow you to take a small final photo. Thank you all and thank you very much to the 5 speakers. And thank you Joseph for the preparation and coordination, thank you too, thank you. Thank you all, really, and good luck Bertrand. See you soon, see you soon. Thank you Bertrand. Thank you.